want the whole world to have the same standard of living, which is lower than the American standard of living. Part of the world government movement. If everybody on the earth has the same standard of living, substantially lower than the American standard of living, because our system is so much better than dictators.
Sure, they're on record. They call it a post-industrial world. Maurice Strong, the head of the Goddard Space Center, Al Gore, they're all going to have palaces, but they're going to take our wealth, in the name of helping the poor. But really, it came out at the Copenhagen Summit. They were actually going to cut carbon on the poor even more.
Yes, most definitely. Well, that's why these meetings always follow the Copenhagen thing. That's a big meeting, and they do meet behind closed doors, but they do have 3,000 reporters and broadcasters attending, and they do hold press conferences. You can ask questions, you can ask hostile questions. So as long as that's why Bilderberg is more interesting than these guys, because Bilderberg tries to deny their existence.
Jim, if you can, do 5 more minutes with us into the next hour, or 5 minutes in the next segment, and I'll be talking to you during the break and checking the audio again. Jim Tucker, veteran, true gumshoe, investigative journalist. The proof's in the pudding. This guy deserves a Pulitzer Prize, though all he's gotten is ridicule, but he's been completely vindicated over the years. And Matt Drudge has got our report up, front page, drudgereport.com.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
All right, he's with us 5 minutes in the next hour. He is a living legend. I mean, it doesn't get any more. He wears the straw hat and the suit, folks. I mean, but he doesn't do it because he's copying the archetypal image of a reporter. He is the real deal, and he's giving us super inside intel. Jim Tucker, other key intel from your sources. Reading here, it sounds like the speech Brzezinski gave last year to the CFR that was televised on C-SPAN when he said the elite are in trouble, the world is waking up, everybody's talking about the New World Order, the private Federal Reserve. More intel, other tidbits that you can give us, Jim.
Yes, and they've been depressed the last 2 or 3 meetings, which is good news for us. The more he's and David Rockefeller and the other kids are depressed, the happier we are, because that means they realize they're failing. In fact, 2 or 3 years ago, prior to their meetings, we were able to get close enough to overhear when they started wandering around the palace yards too much, so that we could sneak up and sit under a wall and eavesdrop. And they were, one of them said it's almost not worthwhile for us to have these meetings anymore, since they were making it so difficult. And they were really downbeat. They've been downbeat ever since, because, as I mentioned earlier, we are winning and they are losing. The patriots of America and from other countries in Europe and Canada are winning and they are losing. They're far behind in their world government ambitions.
Any other tidbits, any other intel out of these 3 speeches that your Bilderberg source witnessed Kissinger give?
Let's see if I can start reading back. I'm scanning even as we speak.
Yeah, what else you got there in the notes, Jim? Give it all to us.
I'm shuffling even as we speak.
Well, we're going to break for 1 minute, so you'll be able to finish up, but go ahead and get started as soon as you find it.
All right. I was looking for the names of some of these people. Nye was one of them. And also the Ozolick, as in former, now president of the World Bank and former big advisor to the president of Economic Affairs. They were both in this conversation about how bad things are and how depressed they are, and how they're especially upset that Americans are aware of the fact that if...
Back in 1 minute, stay there! Jim Tucker, I could talk to him all day, but he's leaving in 5 minutes. And then we'll continue with all the news and other very informative guests. Presidential candidate Gary Johnson joining us. Okay, you were going over Zelikow, World Bank head, and others in these meetings with Kissinger, these closed-door globalist pre-Bilderberg steering committee meetings, and the fact that they're very upset, and there was some key info that they're upset with dealing with the American people. Jim Tucker.
Yes, a conversation overheard between Zulik, Kissinger, and Rockefeller in his wheelchair, although we couldn't hear Rockefeller say anything. Kissinger's Rockefeller's valet issue. Bemoaned the fact that Americans had become aware that if the so-called rebels in Libya should win, or partially win, just get end up with a piece of the territory, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda kids, will be in great shape because they're part of the rebellion. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda are a significant part of the rebel forces in Libya. So if the rebels prevail even partially, holding just part of the country, the Taliban will be in position to attack Washington on the level of 9/11. And they're very upset that Americans became aware of that, and they grouse about the expletive newspapers and broadcasters that expose that information and force it into the they call it the national press, referring to broadcasters, TV outlets. And
why? Because they're running and supporting Al-Qaeda and using the terror to take our liberties? Specifically, why are they upset about that?
Well, I don't think as bad as they are, the Bilderberg kids really intended to help Al-Qaeda, but they did intend to manufacture a big war in Libya so that they could inflame the entire Middle East, as I mentioned earlier, and rationalize the U.S. attack on Iran. I think that they were just in their ignorance, simply unaware that the Taliban was a significant part of the rebel movement. But nevertheless, if they succeed, if the rebels succeed to any degree, the Taliban will be as strong as it was, but as capable as it was of killing 3,000 Americans as it was on 9/11.
So they're upset the American people know that they're basically giving Al-Qaeda, Taliban a new base of operations, and they know that this is going to backfire on them, and is backfiring?
Yes, and they're outraged that it was these newspapers and broadcasters did it and forced it into what they call the national press. Although the Washington Post was forced in New York Times, LA Times, all of which represented Bilderberg on their promises of secrecy, felt forced to acknowledge the Taliban role. They put it on the front page deep inside the story, but it would have normally have been the chief whiz page one lead.
Jim, we've only got 1 minute left. Quick, any other bombshells that you've got? This is incredible.
Well, I think we're just about exhausted for this year, but get ready for the higher gas taxes so that we can continue our recession, depression, so that we'll be happy to have a world government at the end of 2012.
As our saviors. And again, when's the date in Switzerland of the 2011 Bilderberg confab?
Oh, Lord, it's June 10 to 13.
And you're going to be there, right?
Yes.
I may jump on an aircraft and join you. I'm already going to be the keynote speaker at Talkers in New York right before that. I may just get on an airplane and come out there.
Well, you'll know where I'm staying, so we'll certainly get in touch.
Well, Jim, you're incredible. If I don't get on an airplane and come out to Switzerland, I've always wanted to see Switzerland and confront these people. We will have you here live with us, correct?
Very good.
Jim, you are awesome. We'll let you go now. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you breaking that information. Find out more at AmericanFreePress.net, Infowars.com, and DrudgeReport.com. Thank you, Jim. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.